What we need to do is flip the concept. Instead of worrying about holding that L, focus on learning from that L instead, because your L's are where your greatest instructions will always be found. It rarely feels like it in the moment, but experiencing setbacks, losses, and disappointments will absolutely make you stronger in the long run. I've determined this based on my experience and observations, and now science is even starting to back me up. A recent study published in the scientific journal, Nature Communications, found that people who experience failure early in their careers actually have more long-term success than people who don't initially experience any setbacks. We realize we may have succeeded in understanding success, but we failed at understanding failure. Dr. Dashun Wang, one of the study's authors and a professor at the Kellogg School of Management, told the New York Times, "We know success breeds success. Maybe we just haven't looked at people who fail closely enough." Admit that you're wrong. The first and most important step in learning from your L's is identifying that you made a mistake in the first place. Maybe that seems painfully obvious, but it's actually a step that a lot of folks are unwilling to take. Let's say you and I go out for a drive. If I make a wrong turn and find myself in some neighborhood I'm not familiar with, I'm going to turn to you and say, "Yo, my bad, I don't know what we did, but we're lost. Let me plug the address into Google Maps and figure out where we got to go." I'm not embarrassed to say that I made a wrong turn. I'm not worried that it reveals me as stupid. I've identified that I'm in an uncharted area and I want us both to get to our destination. I'm going to do what I need to in order to correct my mistake. A lot of people don't share that response. They will drive around in circles for hours and never admit their loss. You could be looking out the window and thinking, "I know this isn't the right way." But that person will keep telling you, "Don't worry, I got this." That individual will keep driving in the wrong direction, past all sorts of landmarks and signs, until they literally run out of gas. You'll both be stranded and calling AAA simply because that individual didn't want to own up to their mistake. I know people with this character trait. I've literally been in a car with people who drive for an hour in the wrong direction just because they don't want to admit their loss. Try telling them that, and they'll become even more adamant about not turning around. It's very difficult to learn from your mistakes if you have a bunch of yes men or women surrounding you. This is why it's very important that your friends and associates feel like they have the freedom to offer constructive criticism, to tell you about yourself a bit. That is why you never want to be a boss or a leader that screams at or intimidates people under you. Doing that might make you feel powerful in the moment, but it will cost you dearly in the long run. Floyd Mayweather is a person I observed doing this. He has a guy working for him, let's call him Bobby out of respect, who he constantly belittles in front of everyone. Floyd is generally respectful towards the people who work for him, but he says crazy shit to Bobby. Something relatively minor will come up, and Floyd will cuss him out. "What the fuck, Bobby?" he'll yell for everyone to hear. "What the hell is wrong with you? Get that shit right." Bobby will just mutter, "My bad, champ," before slinking off to fix whatever is allegedly wrong. The two of them are trapped in a dysfunctional relationship. Floyd never fires Bobby, and Bobby never quits. They both just stay locked into a pattern of Floyd embarrassing Bobby and Bobby just taking it. The issue is while Floyd may only be addressing Bobby, everyone else hears him. They register that even though Floyd claims to be mad, he never really does anything about it. That tells the other employees that Floyd doesn't actually care about performance or productivity. He just wants that whooping boy around. I better keep my eyes down and focus on what's in front of me, because I don't want to get treated like Bobby. That's how they'll start thinking. And I damn sure won't tell Floyd when I think he's making a mistake. That's the absolute worst attitude your employees could have. Walking around on eggshells and hoping that they're not your next verbal victim. You want them to feel respected, to feel free to offer opinions and insight. You have to remember they're around you every day and see things you might miss, which means that they might be able to identify certain mistakes before you do. Empower them to express those opinions to you. If you could promote dialogue and encourage feedback, you might gain some valuable information that could help you avoid obstacles before you hit them yourself. On the other side of the coin, if you happen to be that employee who's screamed at all the time, you need to do some self-evaluation. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, why did I get singled out for this role? You didn't apply for the position of whooping boy, but that's the position you found yourself in. A quick note on the term whipping boy. You might think it comes from slavery, but it actually refers to a practice with young princes in Renaissance Europe. If the prince failed the test, his tutor wasn't allowed to whip him, which was the punishment back then. You couldn't put your hands on the prince, so the tutor would whip the prince's servant or whipping boy for his mistake instead. Now that's a shitty job. You'd have to ask yourself, how you get there? What sort of energy did you project to your boss that told them you're the one they can be most comfortable yelling at? Did you come off as someone who seemed timid and wouldn't push back? Or did you register as the type of person who would be looking for a confrontation? Remember, a lot of folks, even if they're not conscious of it, seek out people they can have drama with.